religion, and their thinking is still is, religion is personal to you. So it's your personal connection to God, how you interact with Him, whatever. So you can, with them, you can talk about ideology being incorrect, which I usually do. So if I say anything against Islam, it's mostly against Islam rather than Muslims and stuff, because Muslims can be converted, sort of thing. But in Pakistan, what I found was no matter what happens, right, l- just a little equilibrium is shifted, just a little bit, and it's chaos.
In what sense, chaos?
Mobs attacking people and stuff, like, someone just saying, oh, if I have a problem with you, right, I'll say, oh, I heard Liam say like shit about Muhammad, and there will be a whole crowd and they'll just burn you. They'll just burn you on the fucking. I saw people being beaten to death.
Because
Right?
they criticised Muhammad?
Yeah, it was suspected. I don't even know if they said that.
Okay.
Right? So if you're standing over there, you're seeing a person being beaten to death. Beaten to death, it takes a lot of time, lots of pain, lots of hurt, and you can't do anything. You literally can't do anything. The police can't do anything.
And is it all publicly done?
Yeah. And then they all just go.
And is this what put you off Islam?
So I was 15, around 15. That was the year after, or even that year, when I moved to Pakistan. And that's when 9/11 happened. Right, 9/11 happened. We got to school and we had an assembly where, like, all the kids from the school are there, like, and the principal is there, and they do whatever they do. And the principal of the school led the cheers that the attack has happened and we have attacked the enemy, right? So now, knowing that there were innocent people that died, right, and it wasn't an army attacking an army, and here is the principal of the whole bloody school leading the cheers, and everyone was cheering. And I was just standing there and I was looking around, and I was like, these are not my people. Like, I cannot associate what the fuck is going on. And I was only 15 years old, and that sparked me. It's like, okay. Then I went a bit deeper in Islam. I was like, you know what? They are not practicing the real Islam. They are not really Muslims, because if they're Muslims, how can they celebrate innocent people dying, right? So then started my journey, sort of like a 6-year journey of leaving Islam, because I had no incentive to leave Islam. Like, my life was fine. Even if I didn't pray, if I prayed, like, we were well off. Like, it didn't matter to me. I'll still get ahead in life, like, But the more that I started looking into it, right, the more I, like, first I went like very staunch Muslims, like, okay, no, I'll go to prayer every day, like, I'll become a good Muslim, like, I'll show them how to be a good Muslim and stuff. And then I realized, like, no, the religion is corrupt. This is a corrupt coding in the religion. It will always lead to this event. Just the reason why it's leading right now in my lifetime in Pakistan rather than in Kuwait, it's not because in Kuwait there's a better version of Islam. It's because Kuwaitis are prosperous, right? They have money, right? Not because they're practicing some other Islam. They're ignoring Islam because they have money. Their lives are better. The moment that goes to shit over there, they'll return to the same thing. And how I extrapolated that was because my mom and dad used to tell me that Pakistan was pretty free before General Zia came in the 70s and put Sharia law into the Pakistani Penal Code. Pakistan Penal Code was based on English common law, and they practice English common law in Pakistan up until that point. So they used to tell me that before that time, Pakistan was pretty nice to live. Even had bars, we had like pubs and stuff, like, beach going and stuff like that. It was pretty, like, how they show you pictures of Afghanistan before women were free, like, hair out and whatever. So it was like that Pakistan, like a lot better. But when things gone to shit, right, everyone went back to that, that version of Islam, that true version of Islam, which is violent and stuff. And that's what I saw, like, what's happening right now in Dubai. Because people say, oh, look at Dubai, like, the Muslims are so good over there, like, but you don't know how they're keeping that. They're keeping that by really strict laws. Do we want that much laws over here to restrict our liberties just so that we can accommodate these radical Muslims, right? But the moment it goes to shit over there, right, the moment, like, if all their finances goes to shit, it's not as if like they're still going to remain that peaceful, are they? They're not going to remain that peaceful. And that's what right now we're seeing this transformation in Saudi Arabia, where they're becoming better and better and better. We always think like Saudi Arabia, like people are very rich. The elites are rich. Like people are not that rich in there, right? So, but now they're becoming richer and richer and richer, and you see they're moving toward modernity. But this is a blip in time, right? When there's a blip in time of the Ottoman Empire when they were doing good, then they became a little bit moderate.
How did life change when you after you left Islam? And also, what are the consequences? Like the actual, we hear horror stories, but what are the actual consequences of leaving Islam?
Any Islamic government is supposed to put that person to death.
An Islamic government?
No, government.
Oh, government.
Yeah.
Sorry, mate. The government are
Yeah.
supposed to kill you if you leave Islam.
Yeah, the government is supposed to kill you.
Of the
right?
country that you're living in.
Yeah, exactly. And they usually don't do that because they don't want that headache and stuff. And there's lots of proving and stuff that goes on. So it's very rare that happens. So people take it upon themselves to do it. And when people take it upon themselves to do it, the police officers and stuff, they are usually unable to do anything about it because there's two competing laws, especially in Pakistan. There's two competing laws that is happening. There's Sharia law and there's Pakistani law, and they're trying to mix those laws together. If people are on Sharia law and they try to prove something on Sharia law, the court can't really say no to that because that would mean that they are kafirs themselves, right? So it's a bit of a fucked up thing. But within the religion itself, that's what you're supposed to do.
Is there countries that are worse than others? Say, for example,
Yeah.
in Pakistan, what's the percentage of Muslims in that country that would want you dead for leaving?
In this country, there's 70% of Pakistani Muslims that would agree killing ex-Muslims, right?
In the UK?
Yeah, exactly. So if you take it to Pakistan, I'll bet like 90%. I don't know. I don't think so. There's a polling that has been done, so you can't really, judge that. If I was in my that middle class sort of group of people who are like more educated and stuff, maybe only 10% would agree with that. But it depends. But Pakistani's population is 230 million plus people, so and most of them are illiterate, like I told you, and uneducated. So they would agree with whatever the Sharia law tells them to agree with, right? And the Sharia law says to kill the apostates, so obviously they will agree to kill the apostates. Otherwise, they themselves are apostates.
Do you think a lot of people remain Muslim out of fear then, if that's the case?
Yeah. So this was the thing, right? So if I stayed in Pakistan, I could still stay in Pakistan. I had a lot of friends who were apostates. They never went to mosques. Whenever they were Friday prayers, they were hidden somewhere in their homes and stuff, so nobody knows where they are, right? But they just didn't tell anyone that they were apostates, and they lived their life.
Right.
So I could live a very lavish life because as soon as I was going to leave uni, I already had jobs lined up and stuff, very high jobs and stuff, because I knew people wanted me in politics and stuff straight away, so I could have lived a life just faking it. But that just wasn't me. I had principles. On my principle, I was like, I just can't do it. I can't live a lie, even though I have to go away and live a shittier life than I have now.
Is Islam a faith, ideology, or religion?
In a way, religions are an ideology anyways. But I think so Islam is more a political ideology, an ideology of victimhood, I would say, based on victimhood, the original communists, than anything else. I think so. It's a very much of a political ideology that masquerades as a religion, because it doesn't have that much spirituality within the religion. You really can't have that much spirituality if you're saying, if you leave my club, I'm gonna kill you. Right? So if you're using force to keep people in your club, that means like there's something wrong in your club, right? That people want to leave. They don't, what's the problem? Like, why do you want to kill them? Why don't you convince them to come back? And there are some Dawa boys that do that, like, we're going to convince them to come back. But it doesn't work. Once you actually leave Islam, I've never heard of anyone going back.
How easy is it to become radicalized if you're a Muslim?
Oh, very easy.
Why is that?
Because it's a manual. The religion itself, the Quran, the Hadiths, and everything, the religion itself is a manual to become radical, right? And this is not radical for the good, right? Because Christianity, when it came, it was a radical religion for the good. This is a radical as in terrorism sort of a thing. It's a manual for it. Like, it's so easy. You have to work extra hard as a Muslim to not be radical. right? It's the other way around in like Christianity or any other religion. You actually have to work really hard, go really deep in your resentments to become radical, right? In Christianity or Judaism or whatever. In Islam, it's you have to do the other way around. So you have to be a bad Muslim if you're a good person. You have to ignore Islam. Right? So a lot of people say, oh, they are good Muslims. No, 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 they're not good Muslims. The only good Muslims are Taliban, right? And all the people like them.
So here's something you'll be able to give me an insight into. So recently in the UK, we've had an Islamic terrorist. He's been sent to jail because he was part of the arrangement of the Manchester bombings. So he's in jail for the rest of his sorrowful life, let's hope. But he's an Islamist. He's a terrorist. He's in jail. So he's not been put in solitary confinement. He's been given privileges. He was given canteen duty and he was allowed in general pop. And the long and short of it is he ended up stabbing 3 prison officers multiple times and throwing hot oil over them, disfiguring them for life. Now, what motivates a terrorist to do that kind of thing? What's the driving force? Why do they do that?
You're the enemy. They're fighting for the Ummah. The Ummah is everything. It's the Muslim Ummah. And no matter which country they are, they're part of one country, the Islamic country in their head, right? Now, people have mental issues, right? Whether they are Muslims or whatever religion they are, right? But their religions don't give them an excuse to exercise their mental issues unless you're in the woke category these days, right? But they don't give you exercise to, go ahead with your mental issues. Islam does. Islam plays on the resentment. Islam plays on the victimhood of people. It tells them, oh, you are being oppressed and stuff. It's the first religion that does that, right? It started from Muhammad. When Jews would not accept him as a prophet, he played the victimhood card. Oh, they're being discriminatory towards me. And then that's how he motivated people, right? The main motivating force in Islam is victimhood. It tells them, look, if the whole world is against you, so you have to fight them, right? And then you add on things on top of things about their, all their rules and regulations within Islam. It just makes them a radical. So it would tell them, if you're not, let's say someone said something against Muhammad, right? They have to do it because according to their own teachings, if they don't do it, they might themselves go to hell.
They'll want to seek revenge even if it's 20, 30 years later, like we've seen with Salman Rushdie recently.
The funny thing is the Pakistanis are still seeking revenge for what happened in the Crusades. In their mind, what happened thousands of years ago, they're still seeking. It's a collective memory for them. It's like a hive. They think from that same mentality.
Why do you think Islam's become so popular in the UK, especially amongst young men?
It's an easy way to radicalize people. Why did woke become so popular? It's a ideology of victimhood.
So do you feel a lot of people in the UK, youngsters, feel suppressed, so they lean into Islam?
They feel they're being oppressed or whatever,
Ignored.
or the system is against them, they're ignored, they have resentments building up. So it's easy for a woke ideology or a communist ideology, especially communism does that, or Islam, to say, okay, it takes you away from your personal responsibilities, right? So a good Christian would tell them, the shit that's happening in your life is because you are not taking responsibility in your life. So take your personal responsibility and social responsibility, right? But something like Islam will tell them, oh, the shit that's happening in your life is because of the Jews, right? Or because of the Jews and Yahuds, whatever, and they are doing it against you. You can't beat them. And this is the same ideology that the far right uses, that the far left uses, that the Islam uses. If it wasn't Islam, it would be something else, right? It's the easiest way to get kids on your side. It's what Hitler used as well, right? The Hitler Youth Movement. You play on people's resentment and you radicalize them. This is why it's becoming popular in UK.
And what do they do? Do they create an enemy that isn't an enemy?
They don't have to create an enemy. The enemies are already there because Islam is the ultimate enemy of the entire world. So obviously everyone else is a natural enemy to someone who wants to destroy and conquer the whole world, right? So it's easy then. So if you went out tomorrow and you said, you know what, I want to destroy England and I want to take over England, I'm going to kill everyone or convert them to toughism and I'll conquer it, right? Instantly, the whole of England becomes your enemy.
Right.
So there's a truth in there that they are your enemy. But for what reason? Because you were being a dickhead.
Right.
They missed that part out.
Who invented the word Islamophobia? I mean, going by what you've told me, if I was to ask why did they do that, it's because they thrive off victimhood. But who invented Islamophobia?
I think so. It was the Iranians. It's pretty evident that Islamophobia itself was created by the Islamists. Then it was given to the liberals in the minds of the liberals and the liberal Muslims as well, exaggerating what has happened to them. So if Islamists do an attack, a terror attack, it's natural that the people in that area would be a bit off-put by even the normal Muslim. That would happen, like, let's say someone wearing a cross, bombed like the Manchester Arena. So if a priest was going by or stuff, or the priest was going right after that and telling people to come to church, there would be some resentments. People would more likely say, go fuck yourself, right? So they play on these things. They say, okay, see, the moment something bad happened, and look what they're doing to you. You are a good Muslim. You're working in the government. You're helping them. You're a politician or whatever, but they turn against you.
Yeah.
Right? So that's how they handed that Islamophobia. They created the Islamophobia. They sat on it for a while, and then they handed it over to the liberals, and the woke liberals took it over. As usual, they are the useful idiots for everything.
Yeah, that's interesting. What's the most precious thing to a Muslim? Is it Allah? Is it Muhammad? Or is it Islam?
Is themselves. It's like the Viking, right? Like, yeah, to the Viking, Valhalla was the most thing, but them achieving Valhalla was the most important thing. To a Muslim, it's sort of like them achieving heaven is the most important thing. So they're very self-oriented. Like, they're very, like, in that way, they're very selfish and stuff. They're not looking for some spiritual, like, like something like that. They're very materialistic. They're very, they want this. Even the concept of heaven is very materialistic. Oh, if you go to heaven, you'll get 70 virgins, this and that. Like, there will be rivers of milk or whatever. So God has to entice you by materialistic things, right?
Right.
That's not the case in Christianity. Your reward is going to heaven. Yeah.
Whenever there's a terror attack, for example, an Islamic terror attack, you always see online, particularly on X, the call for moderate, good Muslims to denounce the radicals. I'm yet to see any of that, let alone a great deal. So do the moderate Muslims denounce the radical Muslims privately?
Most definitely. They would privately, right? But there is a concept of munafiq within Islam. Munafiq means a hypocrite. Munafiq is a person who says they follow, it means hypocrite. So they say they follow Islam, but they don't follow everything of Islam. That would be your moderate Muslim these days, right? Allah says in the Quran, and He's saying it to Muhammad, and it's in the Surah of Munafiqeen. It's about the Munafiqs. And He says to Muhammad, you may be able to forgive them, but I will never forgive them. So Allah is saying to the Prophet that I will never forgive the Munafiqs, right? So there's a huge danger outing yourself as a Munafiq. Right? You know in your heart that what the Taliban are doing, what the terrorists are doing is a form of war, is justified through Islam. Are you going to come out and go against it that openly? Especially if you have the backing of, that's why they're wishing that Saudi Arabia takes more of a lead in this. If they don't have the backing of a government and they're inside that government, they can't do that. And even then there's a problem. There's a lot of people in Saudi Arabia who are against their new king, like their crown prince, who's going to be the king. Right. There has been so many death threats against him. There has been so many attempts at his deaths because they think like he's disrespecting the Prophet because he's saying most of the hadiths cannot be true, right? So I'm saying that to explain there's a huge, there's more of a danger for moderate Muslims to come out against the other Muslims because A, there's a concept of munafiqs. B, they don't know Islam that much themselves. Most of these Muslims are not even Muslims because they're like drinking, eating, pork or whatever, And C is, they'll be outed from their own families and from their own circles and stuff. right? So they're ostracized from their whole community and stuff. So they have that danger. And that's when you have to kind of think, can you be a Muslim and be loyal to Britain? I doubt it.
I see. Are there many gay men amongst Muslims?
There's a lot of men who do gay acts, but they're not gay, right? And yeah, right. So I have not personally known people, but I've known some things happened somewhere and stuff like that.
I'm a serious question before we go any further.
Yeah.
If I was to lean over and suck your dick, would I be gay?
Well, in a way, that act would be gay, right? So,
but I'd be in the clear.
In a way, yeah, right? Because like if you made a habit of it.
This is, by the way, this is hypothetical. I'm not going to suck Momus's dick, nor do I want to.
But this is how they see it, right? Because what is being gay, right? Being gay is something that comes not in them. It's just generally being a homosexual is having the internal desire to be with the person of the same sex, right? It is inherent in you. Coming from like, what if I told you on gunpoint, like, suck my dick? Would that make you gay? Or are you just preserving your life, right? So for them, what they think is like, because they have so much sexual frustration and stuff.
What about if a Muslim's just randomly sucking dicks without the gun to his head? What kind of life does he lead?
I think so.
Islam?
That is a habit then.
Yeah.
I would say like that person. I think so. To answer your question about like, are there many gays and stuff? By